This is Nadir Shah in Chicago, and you are watching Channel Knowledge for Quality of Life. Friends, last week we looked at the sunlight benefits and in conjunction with how we make vitamin D in the presence of 7-dehydrocholesterol, which is part of the cholesterol molecule. 75 to 80% of the cholesterol is produced by our liver. So today, before I get into the details of the safe exposure to the sunlight, the usage of the sunscreen and the uh, risk associated with, the scare out there that, there's a skin cancer, which is commonly known as melanoma. What the experts are saying. So I was digging the information myself a while back, and many things I came across. And one article I came across from Grassroots Health. It's very thought-provoking, and giving you a gist of it. So I'm going to be sharing with you here today, and I'm going to be including the description, the link of that article under the description, so you can read it on your own as well. Now, when you need some information, you go to the source in such a way that they are the authority in that area. So I learned everything about vitamin D, the sunlight, and the various diseases and prevention of through vitamin D protection, through Grassroots Health. And there are about 40 to 42 leading experts around the globe which are part of this cohort. So, I mean, this is like a treasure of knowledge on this website, and they are based in California. So let me share my screen with you. So what you're seeing here is a gist of the paper I created just for the sake of this discussion. This main article is written by, and it was part of the paper actually, by Dr. Edward Gorman. And that's his perspective. He studied this issue of safety exposure to the sunlight and the sunscreen, and the D business and everything. So he's giving some thoughts here, and the first one is melanoma prevention, primary and secondary. So basically, what are the preventions of melanoma? How one can be safe from skin cancer risk, right? So during the physical exam, because I came across this thing in my personal practice as well, when I go once a year to my primary care doctor, he always looks for these visible signs, which Dr. Gorman is talking about here. The secondary prevention, he's talking about the early detection, regularly scanning and monitoring skin lesions and moles is effective, cost efficient, and non-invasive. So my doctor looks at my skin, at various places, and he looks for this kind of a indication. And every doctor should look at it, and by default. It's part of the observation and, yearly checkup. The primary prevention, he's talking about emphasizing the role of vitamin D and moderate, careful sun exposure in reducing melanoma risk itself. So I did many vlogs on the cancer prevention, various types of cancer prevention with the optimum level of D. And myself and my family members are very keen on this. We try to keep our vitamin D level above 60. I particularly, me and my wife, we are targeting between 80 and 100 because, for the prevention from autoimmune issues. And the risk or the tolerance, the requirement for autoimmune protection in conjunction with the D is quite high. That's the highest, 80 to 100. And I've shared, and in due course, I'll be sharing more, documentation and research on that area as well. So here, doctor is saying that moderate sun exposure, like we talked about last time, healthy exposure, and of course the role of vitamin D. One has to be in the optimum range to begin with. And when you go to the sun and you have a healthy exposure, of course you are going to make it certain amount, and then you need to supplement it, with the supplement if need be, okay, to take it to the target level, which is optimum level. Vitamin D's protective role. Research indicates that higher D level correlates with inhibited melanoma growth and better patient survival, demonstrating a clear dose-response relationship. And I have discussed this thing on various types of cancer. If you see my earlier vlogs, that how D plays a role in protecting us in case of various non-communicable diseases, which includes various types of cancer, heart disease, diabetes, you name it. So basically, the optimum level is a must. It's for a better protection for overall disease control. Of course, this is not a silver bullet that as I said, mentioned in my previous vlogs, but it's not about finding a silver bullet to fix one's health. There is none, to be honest with you, there is none. It's small interventions which we do throughout our life. Okay, small interventions leads to big results. That's the law of nature. It's not like there's no shortcut in life. So this concept of sunlight exposure, healthy exposure, is one of the things. It's part of overall health, okay, besides diet and many other things. So we talked about it in many vlogs, and please look at my previous vlogs which I have done. D's role in preventing oneself from various type of diseases, and I benefited myself and my family members quite a bit in this area. Complex effects of sunscreen. There were 16 studies studied by Dr. Gorman and related to a melanoma and usage of sunscreen. Now, 4 he found sunscreen to be protective, 5 were inconclusive, 7 suggested increased melanoma risk with sunscreen usage. Remember that, sunscreen, there are various types of sunscreens out there. There are some harmful chemicals in there, and it takes less than 30 minutes to penetrate through the pores of our hair follicles and get into the bloodstream. So basically they are saying, some experts are saying that these harmful sunscreens are hormonal disruptor. It can be disrupting our hormone imbalance, which can lead to other complications and other issues, health issues. So you have to be very mindful of using the sunscreen, because we use this sunscreen left and right without thinking, some thought process that, what are we putting on our skin. So remember that, whatever we do, this is my mantra, that whatever I do, related to my health, I think twice before I do it. Okay. Make sure that, you make a habit of, this practice. Then a doctor is saying here that data by latitude reveals, as I spoke last time, that, based on the latitude and longitude, where we are situated on the planet, data by latitude reveals heavier sunscreen related melanoma risk in those with higher pigmentation. Northern latitude means higher, in the northern hemisphere, while no such link appears for the darker skin individual in the lower latitude. It means that the darker the pigmentation, you have some added protection, from sunburn, because, lighter the protection, you don't have to stay that long, as we discussed last time. Anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes is more than enough, because after that it's going to be detrimental to the skin. So basically, doctor is saying here, that's a striking quote, that people who are using sunscreen are precisely the people who should not. Okay, so basically people living with a whiter skin, fair color skin, they are using mostly the sunscreen where they have a God-gifted this light color pigmentation that they can absorb the UVB rays in short duration and they don't need to burn themselves, because most of the people I've seen, people, and you may have observed this thing, that, they are tanning in the sun. They are baking in the sun, and that's detrimental, because, once you're putting the sunscreen and you are baking, because that sunscreen, which has probably harmful chemicals, it's going to penetrate into the sun, into the skin, and it may cause harm more than the sun itself. So we don't know that, what's happening. So basically, if I were in someone's shoe, that, I would get my healthy exposure and then put my clothes on, and protect it that way, rather than putting the harmful chemicals. So limitation of chemical sunscreens. Conventional chemical sunscreens often fail to filter UVA. Remember that there are two types of rays, UVA and UVB rays, and then there is a third one, infrared. Infrared is penetrating a lot more into the skin for cellular mechanism, rejuvenating the cells. So UVB rays is involved in the making the desynthesis. UVA has its own benefit, but to some extent. Then, and there are a lot of sunscreen which are not, filtering this, which are not blocking this UVA rays. So basically, it's not doing its job, which is supposed to, and you are just putting the extra chemical on our skin, and which is penetrating into the skin, because they say on the instructions that a lot of sunscreen, they said that once you put it on, you have to wait 20 to 30 minutes so that it can penetrate, and then you are allowed to go in the sun. So think about it, that what are we doing? Okay, because by the time we are going in the sun, it has already penetrated. But there are some sunscreen which are not penetrable. They are just remain on the skin surface. So broad spectrum of sunscreen effective against UVA and UVB rays are more recommended, but weren't as prevalent when this analysis was conducted. So this analysis when it was done, it was not available at that time. Skin natural photo protective mechanism. Exposure to sun prompts skin adaptation that enhance protection responses, often hindered by sunscreen usage, especially those not blocking the UVA rays, as I said earlier. Dr. Gorman's recommendation to prevent melanoma: minimize UVA exposure. Minimize UVA exposure means, just take a little bit, for some time, healthy exposure, and then maximize your beneficial UVB exposure so that you can make some D out of desynthesis mechanism. For many skin types, allow some unprotected midday sun, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's a healthy exposure window I talked about last time. That's when you can make some D. And of course, we have technology, as I said in my last vlog. Use the app. That's why I use on a daily basis, and it pings me that when my prime time is to make some D, and then I go for my walk. Before that, I do my all exercises early in the morning, and I'm done with it. But particularly walk, I go when the exposure is available, and my D synthesis is at peak, and then I make it for 30 minutes or 45 minutes for my skin color, because I'm somewhere in between 3 and 4, as I mentioned last time, and that should help me. That's been helping me. Supplement vitamin D in the areas of Australia and New Zealand where ozone limits UVB rays. So if there is an ozone layer, of course, UVB cannot penetrate. So of course, even though you are in the sun, you are not going to make any D synthesis. You are not going to make any vitamin D. Use sunscreen with physical blocker. This is the one I was talking about, that it remains on the skin. It doesn't penetrate. So use sunscreen with physical blocker like titanium dioxide and zinc oxide, opaque compounds that attenuate UVA. Okay, it doesn't penetrate into the skin. It remains on the surface. So if you have to use those type of sunscreens. Don't rely solely on clear chemical sunscreen. Instead, cover up with clothing or wide-brimmed hats after achieving a minimal erythemal sunburn causing dose. So it means that, he's talking about that get this healthy exposure and then put your clothes on and cover your skin rather than putting the harmful sunscreen. So let me stop share my screen here. So basically, this healthy exposure, number one, that based on your skin pigmentation, it's a crucial. Then, after the healthy exposure, if you have to stay for any reason in the sunlight, in the presence of sun, put your clothes on, and cover yourself with a hat, and that should do it. And you don't have to get exposed to harmful sunlight and, bake in the sun because, anything I said earlier, that anything which is good, and if you take it in excess, it may become detrimental to our health. So I hope that you are gonna get something out of it, and remember that it's not one magic thing which takes care of one's health. It's a hard exercise. I do understand that, but it's a small interventions in our life, as far as the health is concerned, which leads to big result. Okay, because what we are trying to achieve here, what we are trying to achieve, at least I'm trying to achieve, is that as long as I can prolong my quality of life, as long as my lifespan is there, I can prolong my quality of life without any single medication, drugs. Okay, that's my objective. That's all. I can enjoy the life the way nature has given me without any drug, period. Okay, so I hope you are going to get something out of it, and hopefully I will connect you with you guys next week, if the time permits, from Greece, because I'll be out of the country, and I'll be in Crete, Greece. Bye.